When we are confronted with the bad and negative energy of others, it often feels like a heavy burden pulling us down. It changes the atmosphere and demoralizes us. Most people have experienced this, and everyone has noticed it. Whether it comes from an impatient coworker, an overly critical friend, or an angry family member, there is no doubt that negativity sticks to us, permeates our thoughts and emotions, and disturbs our peace of mind. How can someone else's bad mood or frustration seep into our own inner world, and how can we control it? To answer this, let us ask ourselves this question. There is a powerful truth that we often overlook. Negativity can only take root in us if it resonates with something that is already there. This can seem confusing at first, especially when we feel like we're being blindsided by someone's negative energy when we feel perfectly fine. But if we focus more, we feel triggered by the mood or actions of one of our own, perhaps a fear, insecurity, or unresolved emotion. Not that we intentionally match their energies, but their negativity awakens a feeling in us that we are not even aware of. It can be a subtle annoyance, a hidden frustration, or a hidden sensitivity. We often respond with resistance, not acceptance. And here's the key point. Resistance doesn't solve the problem. On the contrary, it worsens and deepens it. When we resist the failures and negativity of others, our first reaction is to push back, in our minds or outside ourselves. We feel a sense of injustice, an urge to defend ourselves, or even anger and hatred towards that person for offending us and our family. But this resistance only makes us cling more tightly to that person's energy. It's like being caught in a storm. The more we resist, the more it pulls us into its well. By resisting, we reinforce the negativity we are trying to avoid. Think of a time when you were particularly annoyed by someone else's bad mood. Maybe a coworker snapped at you, or a loved one became unexpectedly angry. Even if you were having a good day, their energy seemed to stick to you and drag you down. And why did this happen? Because that moment triggered something inside you, a sense of injustice, a need for control, or a fear of conflict. These moments reveal not only the other person's mood, but also your own inner landscape. Realizing this can be unsettling, but it also has tremendous power. Because what it really means is that you are in control of how you react. And this leads us to an important realization. We can choose how we react. Instead of resisting, we can let them pass us by without getting caught up in their negativity. Easier said than done, you might think. But this is where the concept of presence becomes important. Presence is being fully aware and grounded in the moment without being affected by the emotional people around you. When you are present, you are like a calm, steady stone in the middle of a stormy sea. The emotional waves of others may crash around you, but they cannot disturb your essence. Cultivating this presence requires a constant practice of mindfulness. This means being aware not only of the actions of others, but also of your own inner reactions. When someone's negativity arises, instead of automatically reacting with frustration or anger, you pause. And in that pause, you make a choice. Do you let their energy pull you into their mood, or do you stay in your mood? By choosing the latter, you maintain control over your emotional state and refuse to become a mirror for their negativity. But let's go further if you like. What does presence do? Presence is not just about ignoring others or detaching from the world. It's about being fully involved, but in a way that preserves your inner peace. When you are present, you can observe other people's negativity as it is, a temporary state that does not define you. You realize that other people's frustration or anger is their own, not something you need to solve or absorb. This does not mean that you are indifferent or cold. On the contrary, you develop a sense of compassion without getting caught up in their negativity. Compassion plays an important role here. When you approach the negative energy of others with compassion, you shift the whole focus. Instead of seeing them as an opponent or someone to be defended, you see them as people struggling with their own inner turmoil. It doesn't mean that you forgive their bad behavior, but you understand that their negativity comes from pain or confusion. When you see them in this light, you allow yourself to stay present instead of getting caught up in their emotional whirlwind. Compassion becomes a wall that protects you from the tendency to respond in kind. Yet, it is important to recognize that it is not always easy. It is always necessary to accept. There will be times when someone's negativity is intense and your own psychological defenses are low. It is natural to feel overwhelmed in those moments. But this is where the practice of acceptance comes in. It is liberating to accept that you cannot control others. You can wish that they will change or that their moods won't affect you, but this wish only creates more resistance. Instead, when you accept that people sometimes bring negative energy into your space and that it is not your responsibility to change them, you free yourself from the responsibility of carrying their emotional weight. Acceptance does not mean accepting toxic behavior. Rather, it empowers you to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not about pushing people away or excluding them, but about protecting your own peace of mind while allowing others to have their own experiences. You can be compassionate without being a sponge. You can listen without inhaling. You can care without getting carried away. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, recognizing that your emotional well-being is also important. Interestingly, when you disagree with the negativity of others, you often help to spread it. Negative energy thrives on reaction. When someone is in a bad mood, they are often subconsciously looking for a reaction. It could be a fight, validation, or sympathy. But if you don't feed their energy, they have nothing to hold on to. This doesn't mean that their negativity will disappear immediately, but it will lose momentum without your intervention. Over time, they can see their own behavior more clearly, because you have not reflected it back to them. There is a deeper lesson here. Dealing with the negative energy of others is not about changing them, but about transforming yourself. When you focus on protecting your own peace and presence, you stop being vulnerable to external emotional storms. You realize that no matter what happens around you, your mood is your responsibility. This shift in perspective not only protects your emotional well-being, but also creates a ripple effect. When you remain calm in the face of negativity, you are modeling a different way of being. Consciously or unconsciously, you show that others also have the power to rise above emotional reactivity. In this way, dealing with the negative energy of others becomes an opportunity for growth, not only for you, but also for those around you. It is an invitation to practice patience, compassion, and inner strength. And while it is not always easy, the more you develop this practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you will find that the negativity of others affects you less and less. not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. You have strengthened your emotional boundaries. You have deepened your presence. And you have embraced the understanding that it is up to you to maintain your inner peace.